So what I'm going to look at right now is I'm going to look at questions where we ask, what's the remaining balance on a loan after a certain period of time? And so one of the things we want to get here is that the formula that we're going to use, okay, so our formula is the loan formula. And it's just going to be an interpretation, like how do we use the loan formula to get this particular answer. So it's all about how is it that we're going to utilize this particular formula in order to get the answer that we want. Now I want to show you something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, here I am inside of Canvas, and I'm going to go to my modules, and what you'll see down here, if I go into this Unit 2, you'll see right here, this is the finance flowchart, and if I click on that PDF, you'll see all of the equations that we're going to be utilizing for this section. This particular one is going to be the one for loan. Notice that it's mini payments. And we're making a loan, so the equation that we're going to use is this P naught. P naught equals D times 1 minus 1 plus ROK. So let's see. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. Right, will be this loan payment. And so this flowchart will help you to actually determine what kind of equations that you'll use depending upon the scenario. And so here's the scenario, mini payments, loan. And so now I'm going to utilize this one in order to find my answer, okay? So let me go write that down. All right, so what I have is I have P naught is going to equal D times 1 minus 1 plus R over K to the negative NK divided by R over K. All right, we need a couple things here. D is the size of the payment. R is the rate. K is the number of times we pay a month. Number of times we pay our loan. N is time in years. All right, and I should say that NK, okay, this will end up being the time in terms of how often we pay the loan. So you actually don't have to change NK into NNK. The time in terms of how often we pay the loan. What I'm going to show you is probably a more accurate way of going about finding this answer. And I think, at least in my opinion, a bit more intuitive. So what we're going to be looking at here, all right, is we're going to be using this equation. And since we are paying off a balance, since we have actually already paid a portion of the balance, what this means is that so we only have, in this case, 7 years minus 15 months left to pay. That's going to be NK. NK is the amount of time that we have left to pay. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform 7 into months. So 7 times 12. And then I'm going to subtract 15. So it's 84 minus 15, which equals 69. So we have 69 months left to pay, and that actually ends up being equal to NK. Okay? So I've got NK equals 69. Here's my original principal 7,000. It's actually not going to play a role inside of this particular problem. All right? It's just going to be something that I'm going to compare against. I do definitely need that 7 years because I used it in terms of my time calculation. It's at 2.9%, so that's my rate. So R is going to equal 0.029. We'll write that down because 2.9% written as a decimal is going to be 0.029. Okay? D, which is always a payment, the size of the payment is going to end up equaling 92.18. Okay? And K is 12 because we're making monthly payments. Okay? So let's write all of that down and actually put this in here. All right? So what I've got now, I'm going to take this back. I'm going to have NK, as we said before, is 69 months. R was equal to 0.028. K was equal to 12. And my deposits D, let's go back and take one more look at it, is going to end up equaling $92.18. Okay? So remember, this is the amount of time in months left. Okay, so D was $92.18. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually plug that in my calculator. Now P naught, right, is not exactly our initial amount, right? This is now going to be the amount left. So we're going to solve for P naught. So P naught is going to equal, okay, $92.18 times 1 minus 1 plus 0.028 divided by 12 to the negative 62nd power, or negative 69th power, excuse me, negative 69th power, divided by 0.028 divided by 12. Now before I do anything, let me, so let's make sure that we understand what this is. This is D, that's your amount to your payments. This is your rate, R, okay? This is NK. This is also R, and this is K. Okay, so all you've got to do is recognize that we're going to use this loan payment equation in order to actually work on this problem. And the difference is that instead of the full 84 months for the 7 years, we're instead going to use the amount of time remaining, which is 69 years. Okay? All right. So now let's actually do this. And I'm going to go through as to what I would do and put it in my calculator. So I'm actually going to start out with the 1 plus 0.028 divided by 12. All right. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to raise that to the negative 69th power. Okay. And so now what I've got, and you can check along with me, is I'm going to end up with 0.851451738. I'm not going to do anything else. Then I'm going to take 1 minus, and I'm going to use my answer key, 1 minus my answer. Okay? So that's going to end up being 0.1485. Okay? Then I'm now going to multiply that by $92.18. That's going to give me $13 or it's going to be 13.69317872. And then I'm going to divide that by 0.028 divided by 12. So I'm going to do this thing first, okay? Or actually, I'm going to put this into parentheses. So I'm going to take this number and divide by this in parentheses. And what I get is $5,868.51 when I round to the nearest cent. And that's all I need to do. So let's kind of review what it is that we did. So basically, I'm going to use the loan calculation, the loan amount, using P naught as the amount left over on my loan. I have my D, my number of payments, okay, and then everything else remains exactly the same as if you were going to calculate the amount of money either that you would have to pay every month to pay off the loan, or the size of the initial loan, okay? Except for the fact that instead of the number of years on the loan, this is the number of years we have left, or number of months left in terms of months. If it was in terms of years, you'd put it in terms of years. If it was number of days, you'd put it in terms of number of days. Okay, but oftentimes with this stuff, we're doing it monthly, so it'll be the number of months left. Then you go in, plug everything into your calculator, and then I'll give you your calculation.